Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Module Prep here at Dork Tales Expo. I am your panel host and usual Dungeon Master, Kelly. I use he and him, and I'm excited to talk about modules. Just to clarify, modules, for those who don't know, are pre-written adventures. Usually, you can call them adventure paths, pre-written adventures, modules if they're a D&D book. Basically, we're going to talk about how to utilize and do better at running games that were written by other people, because obviously you can customize things for your home games, but it's a little different when someone else is behind the writing desk. And joining me today are a host of wonderful people. Thank you so much for the tip, Kaga. Kaga the Loon is a great name, folks. We just finished doing our Radiant Citadel Session 0 with Robin, which is going to be broadcasting on our Patreon soon. So if you'd like to consider joining our Patreon for $5 a month, you can get up to 5, maybe 6 very soon, additional games per month, 3 months before everybody else. So it is fantastic. You get a whole season of advance. We should call it the season pass. I don't know, we could do a lot of things though.
It's got some bad baggage.
All right, so without further ado, I think let's go around in a circle, introduce ourselves, and let's hop into the action. We've got about an hour and 15 minutes to play around with right now. Krista. Hi, Krista.
Hello. Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty swell, buddy.
Heck yeah. Wonderful. Hi, I'm Krista. I use she, they, or her, them pronouns. I am usually found here at Dork Tales, where I play in various games and am running the Strixhaven module, the Curriculum of Chaos, for a couple of the people on screen here. And another one has been in one of Kelly's written modules that took place in Strixhaven.
And I gotta say, like Dag, you have not been able to watch any of the other games because it's Patreon exclusive. You get talked about a lot, or at least Coach Knuckles does.
Yeah, Coach Knuckles has been talked about quite
Coach Knuckles was the standout character from those arcs.
Yeah.
Like usually
Everyone
something will happen. It's like,
him.
oh, it looks like Coach Knuckles has an assistant now, or something like that. Oh, it's so good.
Anytime someone gets in trouble, it's perfect. I have run a couple of, actually the thing that got me back into Dork Tales was running some of the Candlekeep Mystery module pieces, and running a module now. So yeah, not a ton of experience, but I'm excited to find out other people's tips and tricks.
Sounds good. Over to Robin.
Hi, Krista. So with even less experience, I'm Robin. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm going to be running my first module in, just over a month and 5 days. Woo! So I am going to be starting my first module. So I'm doing baby thing, and now I need to prep for this bad boy since we've had our session 0. I'm going to be running that over on our Dork Tales Patreon 3 months in advance. So please consider joining that to see the crazy. It's the cast is a charismatic chaos group.
I'm the dump stat with a charisma of 12 in that group.
And you still ended up creating Daddy. Like I'm not even joking about that. Like
the chat won't stop drooling.
I go away for 3 minutes or one session.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to see my character, Chris? I'll send you a PM. Hold on. I'll put it in our Discord chat. Hold on.
I want to. Yeah. Please look at it right now. I need to see your reaction.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
This is my character. Okay, here it comes. Do you have the module prep window open?
Discord.
Okay. Here it comes.
Seeing everybody looking for it.
Yeah.
It's
They call me Daddy.
There's your ASMR. It's just him introducing
It's just
himself.
me.
Oh my
just
gosh!
him.
Can we have that? Can we have that?
It's
1500.
It's like
you're muted
like
right
a
now,
super
Chris. You're
weird,
so thirsty.
like-
You muted yourself.
That's already been clipped, Kelly. I'm so sorry. That's someone's text message tone right now.
Yes, exactly.
All right,
It is
that's
Sorry, what did you
fine.
say?
usually the love child. It is the love child of Geralt and Hawk from Dragon Age 2.
Oh my god, it is.
is.
Totally is. However, even that is not as thirsty as Jen's character, which I'll pass on. or thirst-inducing, I should say. So yeah, Robin, do you have anything to finish up, or should we pass down to Dag?
No, no. Let's finish up me. Phrasing intended.
This isn't Strixhaven, guys. We need to
This
be a
isn't
little bit more on point.
Let's respect. We have guests. We have respectable guests from Australia.
Respectable guests.
Well, I was gonna say, can I just, in lieu of doing my own shout out, can we just see more thirst trap characters? From this? Yeah. Well, hey guys, my name's Michael. I'm Dead Aussie Gamer. I do gaming stuff on gaming places like Twitch and things. Yeah, no, it's I run so many modules. I run 10 to 15 games a week, for those of you who know about my insane schedule, and if it wasn't for modules, I would die. So I'm very, very keen to talk about my tips and tricks, because I have so many tips and tricks in regards to running modules, not just for any particular system either. Like, I run modules for a bunch of them, and I've even written some modules for some games, so there you go. Boom. I don't actually talk about that very much, but I do. Yeah.
I'm actually really curious, because I run a lot of modules too to lighten my load, because I'd end up doing like 2 or 3 games a week that are like homebrew ones, but then I lean on a lot on modules just because I don't have time to prep that many. I need maps, I need everything, so I'm really curious what you do to lighten your load. Chris, I know you read a lot of these too.
Hello, my name is Chris. I use he or they pronouns. I am calling in today from the unceded traditional territory of the K-Cup people. I have been playing D&D since I was about 18, and I've gotten older somehow. But before I was playing D&D, I was very lucky to be able to read some of the old second ed modules. And that's how I kind of got my fantasy fix, was reading the older editions, modules, and like some of the things that like even been written for tournaments from the old Gen Con game days. So I've been reading from second edition, third edition, Mysterious Blank, air horn noise, and then 5th edition. So I played a bunch of World of Darkness as well, but D&D, yeah, exactly. And I played some of the Pathfinder Adventure Paths with the Dork Tales crew, off camera, pre Dork Tales. There was those were really fun. So I'm
weird to think of a pre Dork Tales time.
It's over 6 years ago now, Kelly. I'm very sorry to say.
I keep getting younger, so I don't care.
Yeah. And I have been running modules myself after kind of getting, as an accessibility thing, having less time and energy to spend on running my own games in my own settings.
That's fantastic. And finally, last but not least, Amy.
Hi, I am Amy. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them, and I am Paradoxical Ghoul in the chat on Twitch and on Discord. And I'm a Dork Tales regular, and I am partially uncertain why I'm here. I think this might be remedial lessons because of how much I've run a couple modules before and realized I kind of hated them. So I'm like,
yeah, actually,
all right.
That's a great point of view to bring to this. Actually, like why? Because you ran Ghost of Saltmarsh, and I want to know why you feel it didn't work.
Yep.
But so does any?
Okay, I did that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. And like I ran some of the Candlekeep mysteries episodes, and
you ran some of the better Candlekeep episodes, though. Strangely. Thanks.
You say that.
Thanks so much, Balky.
Which I appreciate.
I think you did a fantastic job, but yeah. Well, why don't we drop into questions about module prep? So I'm really curious. Dag, you have a ton of suggestions from the sound of it. How does everybody do their module prep? So a module is generally, we'll assume D&D, but it can be Pathfinder or anything, has various formatting things, like, box text, and kind of runs you through an adventure from start to stop. How do you prep for it?
So I have multi-stage preps. So it depends on what I'm doing and for how long am I doing it. If I'm doing like a one shot, for example, like there are lots of like, especially if you have a free RPG day and you go down and you pick up one of these modules, honestly, those things need no prep. These are the only exception to my rule of you have to prep modules, because they are designed specifically for you to sit down at a table, open it up, and be able to run immediately. There are maybe 10 to 15 pages to these things. So even if you do want to prep them, just reading it once is pretty much all you'd need. So I'm gonna start by saying that that is an exclusion of what I'm about to say. That is over here in this corner, but I want to acknowledge that there are modules for like one-offs, and you don't need to do much with them. For big games, which I normally do, I have a 3-tier process for running these games. Number 1 is I will read the module from start to finish as if I'm reading a book. I will not try to memorize things. I will not take notes. I will not do anything. I will simply read it. I will skip over certain things like stats and stuff like that. I might read like, some motivation and stuff, but I will just read it from start to finish. Whatever I read, I will then leave for a couple of days, then come back and read it with notes. At that point where I'll just write down a couple of ideas, and at this stage, hopefully I'll have been talking to my players a little bit and be like kind of aware of what they're thinking about playing, about what kind of style of game they want to do. And these notes are also my way of modifying that module to be something that caters to my players instead of just being me regurgitating what's on this page. Because for me, a module is not just, hey, this is just me running somebody else's story. This is no. This is somebody else's story acting as a scaffold for me to launch a game that will be unique to my players. When you play in my game, it doesn't matter if someone else runs you this module. My goal is that it'll almost be unrecognizable to somebody else's game. Like, you'll talk about your game with me, and somebody else who's played the module will go, that never happened. That's a big high for me. Thirdly, this is my third and final tier. I will read it as I'm playing it. So I will have the module there, and this is where I've got my notes out. I've already got my vague understanding of like everything because I've already read this module twice. And that way I don't actually need to do any prep. Like right now, I could run each and every one of you guys through, say, Rise of the Rune Lords, which is the one of the first Paizo adventures. I can do it from memory. Right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I can do it from memory. I can tell you everything from and I'm not talking about like big broad strokes. I can tell you the exact encounters. I can tell you that the goblins of Sandpoint start in 3 different waves with 2 pyro goblins, 1 fighter goblin, 3 fighter goblins, 1 commando goblin, 1 dog goblin who is attacking Aldrin Foxglove and his dog. If you manage to save his dog, I actually turn it into an NPC that helps you with the boar hunt. He invites you in later on while meeting him for drinks at the Rusty Dragon, right? I can tell you everything from memory, not because I'm a freaking lunatic, but because my method is about putting modules into your subconscious. So when it comes to actually running the game, you don't need it. You don't need the book. You can use both your heart, your mind, your observations, and adapt the module to what you need. And for me, that is the easiest way to do it, where you aren't having to constantly refer back and reference and go back and forth, because you are still, in essence, while you're using the module, you're still creating your own adventure. And that
so it's almost like a brain kata, right? Like you're just doing mental practice for it every time. That's really cool, because I know the modules always say read them and do that, but they don't say read them, review them, and just do that repetition. That's really smart. Also, that's very. And then, can you remember the Goblin song?
Goblins fight and goblins bump, goblins bite and goblins bump, skin the horse and bonk the head, we be goblins, you be dead.
Yep, that is absolutely one of the verses. Congratulations, that's great. Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's fantastic. Amy is a veteran of Rise of the Rune Lords as well, and that was
like proper D&D adjacent game I ever played.
Pathfinder 1e is D&D. It's still D&D accounts. It's just better.
Listen,
D&D.
My first D&D game was playing as a blink dog when I was 8 at my brother's birthday party. Like, so it was the actual first like D&D game, but not the first D&D. Okay.
That's fair.
Well, that's
a good start.
I'll say this. I'm gonna drop this down here. I've actually been trying somewhat successfully to actually run the entire of that Rise of the Rune Lords trilogy, like not just Rise of the Rune Lords, but
Shattered Star.
Also the Shattered Star and Return to the Rune Lords. I want to do it with like the same group if I can. So I've been trying to. It's a huge undertaking, but one day. So
one day.
Blue sky.
Call us. God, I really want to do Shattered Star for y'all, but it just didn't materialize. So anybody else have what is everybody else's process? We'll get to the questions in just a minute.
I actually feel pretty good about this because that's almost what I did for Strixhaven. I opened the book. I read the full. Well, I read a lot of the background, which was like a lot about like learning about the world and stuff, because half that module is just setting. And then I read the module straight through, again, jumping over stats and stuff like that, and just read it through just so I knew kind of the overarching of everything. And then I went back through and was sort of like leaving little bits of notes and stuff like that. And then at the beginning of each year that we've done, I've read through the year really quickly. And made myself a few more little notes. But I have a tendency to lose my notes. So I haven't always had those perfect. But no, I kind of took a similar tactic of like, I mean, that's kind of how you study, right? Like I was not a good studier in high school because I was smart, and I didn't have to do anything. So when I hit university, I was like, fuck, what do I do? And had to learn how to study. And that's,
Preach.
yeah, right. Us
that's
AP
the
kids.
ADHD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gifted to a
So-
point.
Exactly. And so that's the proper studying technique, right? Is you just read it through, don't worry about retaining anything, just get to the end, so that when you go back and read in more detail, when you get to things, you're like, wait, what does this mean? Oh, that was this thing later. Okay, it'll get there. So yeah. Hooray! I wasn't off to a horrible start. I'm glad that I had that right.
All right. So on that note, we're talking about losing your notes, though. I want to interject with a question that Robin put in our private chat. Robin,
Yeah.
do you want to hop on that?
Yeah, because again, I'm prepping for my first module, and I'm debating between a Google Doc or physical notebooks. Probably will have a bit of both for writing and notes, but I'm just wondering if anyone's had a preference between the two.
I can
Chris.
speak to that. Are you going to be, I guess you're running online, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I personally love a notebook because I do a lot of prep in places that aren't in front of my computer. However, if you put it in Google Drives and you label it and you ensure you label it and you don't just say document 32, then you actually have a really good chance of like holding it in one place. Again, I mentioned previously in the session on one of the previous sessions we did today about using a notebook that transcribes onto computer, or maybe doing using voice note transcription software. So that way you can like keep track of your notes without necessarily having to physically write them all down. It depends on whatever process you're most comfortable with. If you are a handwriting notebooky person like I am, I have like journals and notebooks all around my house that I don't use, but they are half filled with D&D notes generally. So I'm a D&D person, or not a D&D person, a notebook person.
Yeah.
I'm a notebook person as well, which is why whenever I travel anywhere, like I went on vacation at the beginning of the month with a full grocery bag of notebooks. Like I literally, like right next to my chair, these are some of the notebooks that I use to run. I'm not going to grab the rest, but it's about another half. Like just that I use to run games every week. So
I would put out that, and this is something I do in everything in my life. Google Docs are searchable. So if you're the kind of person that's like, when you have a notebook this thick of all names and stuff like that, if you're going, fuck, was it 4 episodes, 3 episodes, what shit, you can really quickly hit a Control F, hunt that thing down. If that's your, like if you're like me and you can't remember the order of things, because if it's like, okay, yeah, we talked to that, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was 4 episodes ago ish, you can flip back, right? But I know, like, I have a physical notebook for like Netherdeep for just in playing, and I would be like, fuck, what was that? And I'm looking through 50 pages of notebook trying to find a name.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was wondering too. Because like, as a player, it's a little bit easier. But I think like I was wondering like with like DMs like having like specific NPCs and what voices there are and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm debating because I do like having the writing, and I find like a little bit more retention with writing things down. But I'm also just worrying about saving time and the sound of searching through paper to find the document. So that's where I'm having that debate for stuff. So that's good opinion.
I think Dag went and got his notebooks.
Oh, and okay. I will also, my last thing I'll add in here is I don't have desk space at all. So having anything physically in front of me is not like I can barely fit my dice tray. So I'm quite sure you have a nice big desk, so
Yeah, I have a nice
notes
big
are a
desk.
little bit easier, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still quite full. I'm looking at my very cluttered desk right now, and I'm like, yep.
It's fair. So Dag, what'd you go grab?
Okay, so I'm gonna make some enemies right now, and I know I am.
Please.
So if you do have a physical copy of a book, I use post-it notes and sticky tabs, and I stick them all over my book. Right? They literally go everywhere and everything. Like, doesn't matter. Like one of the things that bug me is when, like, you know, you've got like stats and they don't give you the stats, and so I write them down. I'm like, boop. But the glue ruins a ton of stuff on the books as well. So if you're ever using it this way, you are. But yeah, and then I'll do like little tabs that are like, cool, I need to find this dude here who is oh yeah, that's freaking Shalelu. So I need to find
Oh, I love Shalelu.
Yeah, there they are. And then if I need to find Yap and Miriana, who were the ghosts and the fairy from, like, you know, out near Turtleback Ferry, you know, that's where they are. And then if I've got bad guys, I got bad guys listed over here. And if I have plot points are over here. And that is basically this hodgepodge that I do for my note taking. And that's on
brilliant.
that second reading. Yeah. Yeah, on that second reading, that is where I make my own personal tabs so that I can quick reference it, and then I also add in like all the little bits. Yeah, and you know, I mean, I haven't gotten to that point where I'm like writing in the columns yet, but that's like the other thing I'd say. If you are, yeah.
I was just saying, do you want to make some enemies with me? Because this is one of my books.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is
I love that.
this is a thing I use for work, folks. This is not a book on my shelf. This is going to get auctioned off at the end of the year.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if I could highlight.
I want you to destroy that book. I want you to write in the columns. I have I have writing in the columns here that are like.
There, Amy?
Yeah, no, okay, so I'm just gonna say this right here. I don't know how many of you you know, in like university, when you go and you like you get a textbook and it's like I don't know how many of you just gave up on trying to keep those textbooks good for resale value or properly, because my textbooks look like that. That is how
mine too.
That is how I do my textbooks in school. So
those are the ones I like to buy. Those are the best ones. Like when you got them in high school. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the high school one especially.
But breaking the habit, like that like taboo of writing in books is hard, and I just
do you guys want to laugh at me? This is Strixhaven.
Yeah, you printed off Strixhaven. That's great.
I slowly printed about 20 pages, 4 pages per page at a time at work. Slowly but surely printing them off, and I write in that, and it's starting to fall apart. So I should probably look at that.
I actually went through after Wild Beyond the Witchlight and removed all of the tabs from it so that I could auction it off before I realized that either auctioning it off or putting it as a raffle prize or something, it would be more valuable with the tabs in. It took me an hour to get all the tabs out when I was done. And afterwards, I'm like, fuck, I should have just left him in. Like, it would have been because I could literally do the thing that Dag's doing where you go to like you're like spokes in a bicycle, right? Like when the old playing card spokes. Like,
yeah,
oh
100%.
man.
And you know what? That's the thing too, is like when it comes to your game prep, and this is just the premium Dag advice here for module prep, is there is no right recipe. However brings out the best in your game style, that's the right way for you to prep your module. That's it. Because you're all we all play differently. We all run games differently. You know, like there are some people I know that are not, they don't read. They don't like reading. They hate reading. They would sooner scratch their eyes out than sit there and actually read the module. What they'd rather do is they'd rather like watch someone else play an adventure module and then replicate that experience. And what would you do for your notes there? Well, I mean, hey, maybe you wouldn't even have notes. Maybe you would simply improv that, but it doesn't make it any less of a module. You know what I mean? Just because the method is different.
That's a really interesting. It's a really interesting tactic.
I'm really saying that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Chris,
I just want to flag another really cool resource I found in Drive-Thru RPG. Occasionally, there are collections around modules. Like they'll do, like guides to this adventure, and a lot of the time if they have the stat blocks already laid out, they have areas of the game highlighted or centralized or just easy to digest format. It's a great supplement to your gaming tools. And for me, it really actually makes it really easy to run entire sections. The Witchlight one I found on drive-thru is fantastic. It really helped me run the guide, and it has all the stat blocks condensed right at the end of it, which helps you save a bunch of time and flips around. And I just found it a lot easier.
I found the exact same thing with Waterdeep Dragon Heist and a couple of others that I was doing, because I was running them for 25-hour. We were our first extra lives were running Waterdeep Dragon Heist for 25 hours straight, and then there was another one where we ran. What did we run the second year? Do you guys remember? It was, but there were, but basically.
One of them we did bits of.
Oh, it was Ghost of Saltmarsh.
Yeah,
that's
right.
right.
I was gonna say, it was where we were in the little the marsh town with the.
Those were brutal sessions, but what made them much better was I went and got some guides from Drive-Thru RPG that basically said, "Hey, this part of the game doesn't actually function right. Like this module, they didn't think about these things. So if your characters are at all like this, maybe do this." And it's really good advice, and it cost me like $10 for both of them or something. It was really reasonable, and support small creators that do stuff like that.
We do how to run your module things as well.
That's right. So if you like module prep, check at the end. We do, the only one we haven't done one for is at the end of Spelljammer. We did one at the chapter 1 of Spelljammer, and then at the end of Spelljammer, we were just so like, we just ranted about Spelljammer for an hour because I was like, God damn it, this thing was so good at the start. And then they retconned
watch those back to back. Watch one in the end back to back of us be like, oh my God, this game's so much fun. I get it. I'm so excited. What happened?
What happened?
Well, I think we also had some, we went over like some of the things you can do to make improvements. So it was pretty much a small how to run. Like
the best how to runs have been for Dragonlance. We have really peeled that module apart and have really gotten into the, hey, this is what you should do. This is how you should make it more like, and we are not 100% accurate. Of course, we make mistakes. There was a line about clerics of the moon gods that I forgot about, and I got some comments about that reminding me. So that's great. We're just human, except for Dag. He's Australian. That means he's bulletproof.
So much more deadly and poisonous than the rest of us, and
it's true.
Enemies.
That's true.
He's got all the resistances.
Yeah,
the apex predator.
It's like basically if the dwarven stats were given to humans, it would be.
I was gonna say that, but I thought that would be mean. But that's actually, does that mean you're slower? You walk 25 feet?
Have you ever seen an Aussie run?
Yes, but usually from fire.
Yes, actually.
What about Bondi Beach Rescue? That's, I think, about as much running as I've seen. And there's
No. Hold on. If you're ever watching Bondi Beach Rescue, then you know very well that we 4-wheel drive to the beach, even though our tower is right there. All right, we're in the car. All right.
Okay. So there are a couple of questions in the chat I think we should tackle before we get back to improving our own questions. The first is from Vancouver by Night. Do any of you run adjusting a module up or down in levels in according to the party? Like if it's a level 15 plus something, do you adjust down to level 3 to 5 if it's a smaller game or a lower level game? Anybody have any options? Chris.
Some of the fights, especially in the early levels, are absolutely deadly and will just trash PCs. So even for things that are scheduled to be like, or like for parties that are the right size, if there are just a couple things that are just like meat grinder sections, in spoilers for Descent into Avernus, there's a section underneath the bathhouse, and it's really tough. And for a party to be expected to do it without a rest in the middle of it somehow, they are going to get torched and beaten. And then like my latest PC was almost killed by the yellow mold. Like it's just like, you have to like, sometimes you have to scale down the DCs for things or reduce people just to make it like a fun time for everyone. Like you can do it rules as written, but I don't particularly care. I think is probably my
the tree in Hither or Thither. You know which one. Well, by the way, suddenly you're like fighting a tree that can one-shot kill your characters because they're level 2.
One-shot killed me. It
did.
Character. It did massive damage.
Yeah. We had to go against those rules and say we're not using these rules in this game.
Yeah.
So
We'd pay too much for the art at that point. Amy, you had an answer. Oh, sorry, Dag.
Dag did too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm of two thoughts on this. First of all, is in terms of scaling is a very interesting concept because a lot of people think that it's directly involved with leveling and stuff like that. But I don't scale my levels per se. I will scale my pacing. That is to say, not every single round of combat has to be a full round attack trying to murder my players. Let's say I had the big whomping tree, for example. I wouldn't necessarily target my players for a while until I made it very clear that they were going to get wrecked by this. So I would, for example, have it, sort of smash through, say, a couple of trees, and in one clean arc, I give my players like a reflex save. And even if they fail, they just kind of get thrown back by the wind, but they watch as like 4 trees get snapped by this one limb. If they still decide to stay and fight, then, well, power to you. But, this is just going to go down the way it's going to go down. And most importantly, hit points do not induce fun, right? However many hit points your players are on, whether it's too many or too little, is not a measure of how much fun they're having. So judging the scaling based on just the mechanical stuff isn't going to make it more entertaining. So just taking your module and saying, oh, my group is level 3 and we're playing against I've got 2 level 3s and a module set for level 5. I should adjust this down. It's like, well, you could do that. Or alternatively, you could simply make this still kind of that threatening or that challenge, but make it in a way that these level 3s will have the advantage because they're not taking the most optimum attacks or actions and things like that. And that way they still get that sense of achievement for having beaten a greater foe than if they went, oh, cool, we're fighting a Minotaur. What a shame the GM made it a CR 1/4. Like, okay, well, I mean, we killed a Minotaur, I guess, but, so scaling can work, absolutely. And I'm not saying don't scale, but I am saying be aware that there are other ways to scale an encounter without lowering.
And be careful with the perception of scaling so that people feel like they're accomplishing something.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. Amy, you had a point as well.
Well, I'm just looking at the question saying like if there's level 15 plus or something module, you adjust it down to level 3 to 5. And I personally would not, because I would just say make the characters level 15. If it's something future in your adventure, then just say, dude, it's out of timeline. I don't think that maybe if I really want to run something that's at that level, I would probably find something at that level or come up with something myself. That's
fair. Anybody want to weigh in on this question? I think that covered it pretty well between the two of you.
I think just to Amy there, I really like that idea. It's like really encourages it lets you do the fun things, and like there's not a whole ton of necessarily high level content from Wizards or like the main publishing line. So if you find one that you want to run, go with that instead. I like that.
All right, so let's hop on the.
I was just saying, like, yeah, I think as like, excuse me, sorry, I inhaled something spicy. It also.
So while you're dying,
Robin's dying. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I really love the idea of elevating players as opposed to nerfing things. That's always been a big thing for me as well. And you also don't need to do that with levels. You can do it with items as well. I feel like some games don't really encourage you to get too many magic items involved, but if scaling is a problem, you can very much hey, here's a care package. You find this other adventurer who is way more prepared for this fight than you were, who happens to have been killed. And there is his corpse. And look, all of his shit's still there. Grab it.
Well, that's a plus 15 magic sword. Wow, that's going to help.
Yep.
Well, especially for the classes that even at higher levels don't necessarily have anything for like specific like magic resistances and yeah.
Robin, back to you.
Yeah. To kind of agree with Amy, I think like scaling is definitely something that like once you have more practice being a dungeon master. I think that's something that, or like using like I really like the techniques that Dag was talking about. I think that's a really unique thing, but that is something that you're only going to gain once you have a bit more practice. So if you're a new DM and you're looking for a module and it's not necessarily the level that you have and it's something that you want to do, maybe just see if there's something else out there that kind of goes for the same vibe but is at a little bit easier level to scale down. Because the last thing you want to do is, either do it too easy and your players feel, like you went easy on them, or just like TPK and it's impossible. It's just like, just see if there's anything else out there that could fit your needs better until you actually get the skills to do those techniques.
It's really good. Let's move on to the next question because it is a doozy.
Sorry,
yeah, totally.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I just really want to stack onto something that Robin said real quick because I love that.
Please.
And I think there's one other little piece of advice I want to tack onto that, just that little bit in there. If you do it, never be afraid to make mistakes, right? Like if you do something and you want to scale it and you mess up, it's fine. That's the experience Robin's talking about, right? Because your experience isn't about like finding all the times when you do stuff well. It's about finding the time when you fuck up and you go, oh, that's what I did wrong. So don't be afraid to make those mistakes as well, because exactly. Experience is 90% of the skill behind scaling. And the only way to do it is to, do it and make mistakes and be okay with it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, and don't be ashamed of them either, because like everybody makes mistakes.
100%.
Everybody does it. I can guarantee that on Dork Tales, I gave them a bunch of magic items way too early in my homebrew game, like the big one I started 5 years ago. And I'm still kind of going, oops. Well, I learned from that one. I shouldn't have given them that +3 sword right away. Ooh, it sure looked. I was used to Pathfinder rules when I did that. Oh, it goes a lot further in 5e in a lot of ways. So Wonka had a question and this is going to eat up a lot of time, I have a feeling. Say I'm a first-time DM and I want to run my first module. Where would I start, and which one should be the right one? I would say, first off, decide what type of tone you want to run. Each one's a little bit different. For example, Gothic Horror for Curse of Strahd versus theoretically a heist, although there's no dragons actually stolen in this, and at least not the fire-breathing kind.
I'm forever going to be angry about that. I am. This is a point of contention. I'm so angry.
Or, for example, if you're just starting out, maybe something that is much more modular and is a bunch of little adventures, so you are not spending a ton of time preparing for a very long adventure when it turns out you only get a couple of games out of your adventuring party, because keeping a stable group together is not always easy for people, especially people who are starting out. That is my advice. But what does everybody else think?
I have found a lot of, and I mean, Kelly, I'm pretty sure you're eventually putting your modules up there. Drive-Thru RPG has a ton of one-shots, and very simple one-shots, two-shots, ones that like lead into other ones. So if you do want to go longer, that are just a lot of fun. So yeah, just take a boo through and see, look up your levels, take a look, see if a title catches your eye, and then maybe an author that you use is good and you want to keep buying them. So, and I think they're like the ones I bought them for like $2 a piece or something like that, or 30 cents or by donation or something. Yeah.
There are some free ones and cheap ones. The two that I would always suggest for everybody is the Wolves of Welton. It's a module where you go and meet some wolves that are basically raiding caravan lines, and then you have to go slay the wolves, and there's more to the story, and it can actually have an ending without combat. And the other is the Wild Sheep Chase, which is where your adventurers are approached by a sheep that is actually a transmutated sorcerer who wants his house back because his apprentice stole it from him and turned him into a sheep. And these are great little one-shots. They're so much fun, and there's tons of stuff like them available.
That is super cute.
It's real cute. You should run it for your group. Like, it's really... It's what, when I used to be a paid DM at the university, that was one of the ones I would run a lot, because it was just... me as I get a new like this. Yeah, that's the whole reason. Krista!
Yes. Oh no, not today. Not today. That'll
No, don't do that. You're sick. You're sick.
I'll turn it to Robin. I'll start coughing. Not that I've been doing that all day. I think my favorite modules I ever ran are actually Pathfinder 1E, and they're the goblin modules, and they're so
Yes.
good. They're so dumb and so much fun, and they're just goofy, silly fun. So I highly recommend not picking something that has a like pick something fun, like Kelly was saying, like pick ones that are going to be like adventurous and entertaining, and really let your players like get into the swing of things and have fun, and let you have some fun, and not have to worry about giving dark monologues and having a bunch of lore in your head. Just do something fun.
There is one in particular I'm really curious, Dad, because you run a lot of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's one where you're all plants, right? Do you know this one I'm talking about? It's a free RPG day one.
Mhm.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
It's like
one of the
fists-
second edition ones.
Fists full of something.
Let's see.
It's like it was
Yes,
in
it's so good. I want to play it so bad.
It was in the Pathfinder.
was.
It was in the Pathfinder Humble
A
Bundle.
fistful of flowers.
Fistful of Flowers. I really want to run or play that one because you're all plant people, and like, and it was like an RPG,
Defending
a free RPG.
garden.
Yep. No, I do like that one. That one looks really. I haven't
adorable.
run it or played it yet, but that does look adorable. Like, I mean, like you guys were saying, the free RPG day ones are great start offs. Doesn't matter. Actually, it legitimately doesn't matter what system you use. Like, if you go to your local game store on free RPG day and just grab a briefcase and just doop for your day, any of those is a great choice because that's what they're designed to do. They are designed as introductions for both GMs and players to every system, and a free adventure to try out. I think I gotta say I'm very much a big fan of some of the Pathfinder ones. The only thing that kind of steers me a little bit away from it is if you are a new GM, Pathfinder can have its hurdles, which is a whole thing. And I'm look, I love Pathfinder a lot, and I am always willing to acknowledge the weakness of like there is a learning curve. If you are in Pathfinder, 100%, I would say there is a trilogy called The Price of Greed, which starts with the adventure known as Crypt of the Everflame. It is the Pathfinder 1st Edition adventure. I think there's a 2nd edition conversion, but it's a very short, easy dungeon delve with a few little like kind of extra bits there. It gives you plenty of room to expand, but more importantly, once you get to the end of that adventure, if your players still like it, it follows up with 2 other small adventure pods which continue that story, which is the Mask of Lie. I think it's like the Mask of something, and the goddamn, I forgot what the other 2 are called. The City of Golden Death, right? So there are 3 adventures that you can continue if your players want to. But I would say, and I mean,
I can confirm that's a really good module too. Like it's really good.
So
Bunny
good.
Hearted used to run that in Meat Space for us a lot.
It's a great one. It's still one of my favorite ones to the day. And anytime someone asks me, "Hey, let me know about Pathfinder," that's one of the first ones I'll run. But moving away from Pathfinder, I would say this. Can we define very quickly again what it defines to be a module? A pre-written
adventure.
Or something or something that is written by someone else.
I think both of those could function, yes.
Things. Because I would say that there is 2 things that I would suggest really help any person, regardless of the system that you're using, so long as you as a GM are starting to learn and familiarize yourself with that system. And that is, number 1, it is a website called Kassoon, which I use on occasion when I do what's called emergency improv. Emergency improv is basically when all my players haven't shown up for a game and I need to come up with something that isn't going to outrightly make people miss out. It is a random plot hook generator, and it literally just gives you a plot hook and then tells you, do this. So if I look at the one that I've got now, a random party member is stung by a bee. They spot a strange man sitting on a step nearby, tracing the air with their fingers and muttering to himself. Suddenly, he jabs a finger into the air, and then another PC gets stung. Boom. That's it. That's your one shot. That's your adventure right there. Go solve that problem.
That's great.
And I love those sort of very, very quick ones. And I can't talk about generated adventure modules without, of course, talking about a big one that's starting to like sort of make waves, and that is Chat GPT, which
as a module writer.
It's a module writer. Yeah, exactly. So for example, you can actually ask it, write me a D&D adventure where the players are protecting done.
Krista? Did you say Krista?
Sure. Here Here's a D&D adventure. The Kingdom of Solace is in turmoil. A powerful necromancer has risen to power and threatens to unleash an army of undead upon the land. The king has put out a call to adventurers to help protect his daughter, Princess Krista, who is the only one who knows the location of a powerful artifact that can defeat the necromancer. The players are hired by the king and protecting her while they travel to the distant temple to retrieve the artifact. And, so on and so forth. And there you go. Boom. You've got like a whole thing that's generated by AI.
That's crazy.
It's new-ish, so some of the stuff is going to have a lot of familiarity. Like, I remember they were talking, like, I was like, write out an adventure about orcs, and they're like, yes, the great orc king Grumsh speaks with Thrall and Grom Hellscream, and I'm like, oh yeah, does he now? I'm like, okay, I guess. Those of you nerds who aren't necessarily as old as I am, Grom Hellscream and Thrall are the orcs from World of Warcraft.
From Zug Zug.
Jug.
Ready to serve.
But yeah, so it's not perfect, but at the same time, it gives you the tools you need to run your stuff.
Oh my god, this actually did it. I just did it myself on chat. Okay. As the adventurers step off their boat onto the sandy shores of Australia, they notice something strange about the land. The trees are twisted and gnarled. The sky is a sickly green color. Obviously, they're in Perth. And the creature... Yeah. Let's see. And the creatures looking around are unlike anything they'd seen before. After asking around the nearest town, they discover the King of Australia, Michael, is a powerful lich and has been ruling the land with an iron grip.
Okay, I'm just lich, but you're...
He's a dead Aussie. I wanted to give him some power.
Sure.
I wanted.
That's true.
Oh, that's so good.
P.S.
So
There's
this-
your ASMR script right there.
Is this my ASMR script? Yeah. And with the lich
But
defeated,
it's really good.
this isn't half bad. You're overpowered in the end, though. Unfortunately, Dad. It doesn't say that you're destroyed, though, so that means you can return.
That's true. That's true. If they don't kill my, they
Season
don't break the
2.
phylactery.
Ooh, and there are
what's really
legend.
funny is my phylactery is a jar of Vegemite. So
No one's gonna touch it.
Yeah, exactly. No one's gonna touch it.
You just put it on a shelf in a store somewhere, just like way at the back, so that no one ever touches it.
Is your lieutenant a just this big dude who's 6'4" and full of muscles?
Oh yeah, no, I reckon. He'd be a kangaroo too. Like his name's Roger.
Named Jack.
Those are terrifying.
Your adventurer is Jerry O'Connell. Yeah, that's right. You're up against Jerry O'Connell. You send your kangaroo after him. Oh god. Hello, Perception Studio. Thank you for the raid. We are doing a fundraiser for us. So hey, welcome to it. We're talking about modules and how to run modules. Let us talk about modules then. Let us hand up here. Yes.
I will just. I think
Krista,
there's 3 of us in
sorry.
row. Sorry. Mine's really quick. I was just going to say, take into account when you are picking your first module, it is going to depend if you are a first-time D&D, first-time game player, or if you are like me and had played for 20 years and then picked up a module. It's going to be a lot different. So I think Chris was next.
Yeah.
And I'm muted again. I just didn't mean to cut you off there, Krista. So I just want to say, the introductory ones that they used to kind of promote were the Sunless Citadel and White Plume Mountain, and those are all available in Tales from the Yawning Portal. If you like a dungeon crawly kind of thing, if your players are like kind of combat oriented, yeah, it is. It's a lot to spring on new players.
There's a dungeon.
If you want to play Dungeons and Dragons in a dungeony way, that is a great way to do it.
With a dragon.
Yeah. And that's where you make me the infamous Meepo of fame. But there are other options, and there are options that may be more fun.
Amy.
Okay. So we're talking about module prep, but then we've also started bringing in the chat. Is it GPT? I don't
GPT.
use it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then or using randomizers for plot hooks. So here's my thing: is that I hate prepping modules. I really hate it. But I am down for randomizers and generators and all that sort of thing. So that's where I veer towards, because like this is like my prep for like a D&D one shot for Extra Life. This is my prep for another game. If it doesn't fit on 2 index cards, it's too much prep. Okay. So that's me. I don't want to do it. It feels like I'm taking a test that I didn't, and somehow I don't remember 90% of the stuff I read, because, like my university experience. So I just want to say, like, I like that having those randomizers in those prompts are being encouraged to build for that kind of building your own kind of like not really exactly a middle ground, but like it gives you pieces. You're not coming up with everything yourself, but it's still giving you that flexibility to not feel like you're locked into someone else, like the source material, I guess is where I'm going with that.
Fair. And then Krista, you had your hand up? Oh, you're muted.
My stupid microphone. Yes, hi. No, so I was gonna say, like I also am not great at prepping. I either, not that I'm bipolar, but I either like one session I'll wicked over prepare for, and then the next one I'll have 2 weeks to prep and won't do a single thing, and I'll read it really quickly the second before stream starts. So like it really depends on like where my head is at. So I'm very similar, and especially because I'm trying to incorporate all of these incredible backstories that my players brought in. I'm trying to blend those in a little bit. So for the most part, I play real fast and loose. I really don't like worry too much about everything. I take the big overarching story points and have just kind of like pulled those out and got, oh yeah, okay, this fits with where this character wanted to go. So let's just do that. So don't ever feel like you have to stay quite as true to the modules. I know, like we've said in a lot of our how to runs, Kelly in particular has said, we're kind of running them to show you what the game is. So in those, like it is kind of more important to stick to it. And I do try to at least hit all the things that happen in Strixhaven. But I discovered really on that you guys didn't care what was happening in the module. You just wanted to see drama. So we kind of gave up on that. But I know that, but if you're running it at home, like Amy was saying, like use it as inspiration. Use it to have, if you're not good at figuring out what levels are good for fights, use the fights with your own story, right? Like use it as inspiration more than having to go mark to mark to mark.
Mm-hmm. Robin, you had your hand up as well.
One thing, and I'm just thinking about like there was a comment from LaRuque, first time DM, don't pick Call of the Netherdeep. And I think on that thought is, if you're looking to run a module and you're curious about a specific module, there's probably at least a half dozen probably reviews on the module from DMs that have taken a look at the module. So if you're interested on it, take go on YouTube and search videos and find videos about it, because yeah, like for example, we find and we don't suggest Call the Netherdeep for a first time DM because it can be quite tricky. And so there's always information out there for you to find. So if you're interested about a specific module, look up some reviews on it and see what other people thought about it, because I'm sure there's probably things on Reddit or Twitter or whatever people use for social media these days. So I think it's a good option, is if you're curious about a certain module, do some research on it.
So Robin, you also brought up a question in our private chat, was whether or not, because we try not to use any AI art, like any AI character art for sure, just because we like to support artists and pay for that, is using ChatGPT to write a module the same type of vibe. And to that, I actually have an answer, because while we were talking over the last few minutes, I decided to see how good it was at writing non-D&D paths. And so I said, write me a one-page adventure module for Mage the Ascension, where the Nefandi are secretly the villains, make it political, the heroes are young tradition mages. It repeats the same sentence significantly. Like, there is very little original thought in this. What I'll do is I'll send you a copy of the text and review it. And once you do, I think this is really good for coming up with story seeds. almost like any type of generator you'd come to. I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think it's nearly as threatening to like to stuff like
I
that.
think the so I do have thoughts on that as well, because I'm a big supporter of artists and the like, especially on my channel and with what I do. With ChatGPT, originally that was one of the biggest concerns, was the whole, you know, like how much of it is actually taken from other content creators and the like. It literally skims just a ton of piecemealed things in order to answer a directed question. So I think if you really are concerned with it, like, again, it's the same thing as a generator. Inspiration rather than simply using it as a scapegoat. And I'll say that with all modules. All modules are not really just there for you to like, it's not like it's the reason why you don't have to prep or you don't have to do anything. You know, that's not what a module is for. A module is there to lift you up so that you can shine and create that stage for your players. If you are just copying and pasting it and just sort of like reading and regurgitating, that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it doesn't capture the true essence of what a module is for. You know what I mean? Like, I think a module is for GMs like myself, like you know, all the guys here who like, hey, we need time to, you know, make sure that our wives don't leave us, and you know, that we can keep our jobs and stuff, so we don't have the time necessarily to write every single game we do as an original piece of art. And this is just a really fun way to entertain our friends, have a good time, and do stuff with that. If people start publishing modules with this sort of thing, I think people would be very disappointed, and the popularity of that person, that author, would plummet if they were to use this as a here's my module. Yeah. You know,
Because like, how many times did Robin, you just skimmed the one I posted in our private chat, how many times does the word turmoil come up?
There's so many times. It's just turmoil. All turmoil.
all the turmoil.
Yeah.
And political turmoil.
Here,
So
I will
much.
slowly paste it into the Twitch chat so people can read it as we're going. Krista, you had a something you wanted to weigh in on as well.
I'll just start in real quick with Ed, and Dag kind of covered it a little bit here. So the idea of using AI modules, like with any AI, I think as long as you're coming forward and saying that that's where it came from, of being like, yeah, it was AI, I did this. At the end of the day, you also get what you pay for. I know we rag on a lot of like WotC and a lot of like pre-written modules, but at the end of the day, like if you're doing a free AI generated thing, it's not going to be as thought out. It's going to have those big holes in it. It is just like Chandra was saying in the chat. It's very much like it's just like next progression, right? It's not actual AI writing anything. It's just sweeping the internet for stuff. So yeah, I think that there will be a point where, like, you know, yeah, maybe it might get to a point where it can write really, really incredible stuff, but I think we're pretty safe, at least right now.
I think so. Now, Dag, you suggested in our private chat, quickfire worst module. We got about 10 minutes left to do this, so this is the perfect time for this. Do you want to start us off?
Yes. Frickin' what was it called? It's a adventure path in Pathfinder. It is Legacy of Fire. Legacy of Fire, worst module I've ever read.
You don't like the mold sword? Or the divine mold?
You know what's really funny? Did you know that there is actually so many different ways that you can end that adventure in the end of book 1 and book 2 with no conclusion, no resolution, and no way to actually bring your players back on track? Because if you actually follow a particular path, they actually skip an entire dungeon, of which that entire book is the dungeon, and then they get to the last room with no context of what they're looking for, kill the bad guy, go home, and there is no way for them to get to the Paradise Scroll.
No, because I never ran it past episode 1.
Yeah, it is the worst. And it's not just that, it's just the characters are like cardboard. It's like basically it's like someone like went to like a tourism department, like an airline thing, picked up everything about like, you know, like, hey, I wonder what an Arabian adventure would look like, and then like watched a DVD version of Aladdin, and then went, yeah, cool, okay, there we go, boom. And
they didn't even bring in Morgan Freeman from Robin Hood?
No, they did not. But you know what? It
Oh,
was so hard to run. It was really difficult to get my players like invested. And like I said, there were just so many times where I was just like, "Hey guys, I've given you everything this module said. Short of me telling you, hey, look under the throne. There might be something there." There was no reason for them to actually proceed
Oh
from
my
one book to the
God.
next. And
That
it
is-
was like and you know what? Sometimes that actually happens because I think with Paizo they actually do bring authors out for different parts, you know. And because this is one of the very, very early ones, because it was Rise of the Rune Lords, Curse of the Crimson Throne, then Legacy of Fire. I think Legacy of Fire they were kind of getting into this swing, and they were like, you know, feeling a bit confident. We're like, yeah, we can do this. We've done a couple of these now, and then they forgot to like have the authors actually legitimately talk to each other, and that disjointedness is just so obvious in that particular adventure. It's my least favorite one. Sorry, that was supposed to be quick fire.
That's quick fire. Chris has his hand up. Chris.
I mean, if we're talking like 3.5, which is like the edition I played before, it's Tomb of Annihilation, or no, Tomb of Elemental Evil, because no one wants to play it. It's awful and bad. And then for 5th edition, I'm super salty about Rime of the Frost Maiden. I will never not be salty about Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Because you look around with the Frost Maiden, and this is the one. Oh, shit. I forgot I could have just done this. This is the one that I didn't remove the tabs.
Yes. Listen, the first half of the book is super good, but I will
It's
forever
so good.
die on the hill that the last two chapters don't make any sense and are in the wrong book. And
Yep.
like quick shot, I'm ending it here. I'm mad.
Yeah,
I
it
will
is.
die mad about this.
Okay. All right. Robin, do you have your hand up?
That was gonna be my answer, was Rime of the Frost Maiden, because it took such a fucking left turn that made no absolute fucking sense. And as a player that was only melee, I
That's how you really
fucking
feel.
hated that city.
Oh my God, that was so rough on you because you were the only person without
Yes.
any casting ability, and you're in a wizard city where there's no magic items anywhere for you, and all of the enemies can
Yes.
fly. And you're just
Yeah.
like, I have
Oh my
a
God,
javelin.
The Lich fight, I literally did not a single point of damage anyway.
To be fair, you did kill Oral 3 times in a row.
I did. I made up for that. But I was so mad at that fight.
It was
Holy
real
fuck.
good. It was real good. What? Are you kidding me? I gotta watch that. You gotta send that video to me if you got it. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
no, I
want
will,
to
I
see
will.
that.
We're having
Apparently-
secret chats.
Secret chats.
Secret.
Okay. So, okay, I'll go. I'm gonna cause the biggest stir, but go, Krista.
Oh, mine's uneventful, so go ahead. Yours will be more fun. Yeah.
Curse of Strahd. I think this is a beautiful, brilliant module, but the game writing has not been updated enough from the 1980s, and Strahd does not function well as written. They needed to tweak his backstory a bit for this day and age. When the players discovered his backstory, you can go back and watch. It's on YouTube. They laugh at me for 10 minutes straight, giggling like they're just laughing at what an incel he is. And they're like, we can't take him seriously anymore. He's like, oh, it's the Dark Lord. Like, and the module is really good, but the motivation inside of it really falls apart. But yeah, Rime of the Frost Maiden is worse. But Curse of Strahd, man, I love Strahd, but he's so hard to run in 2023. He's so hard to run these days.
I like what we did with it in the end once we decided to just like kick the module rails to the curb and did our own thing, because that was
because you do that, and I was just like, fine. I'm like, all right, cool. Here's the quick fix, by the way. You go in and go, hey Strahd, we have your book. He's like, yes, I've seen the many books around Barovia with different lies in each. Right? You throw it out the window. You just throw it out the window. All right, Amy or Krista, what module do you hate?
Amy, you got one?
Oh, I don't have a specific one. I'm just agreeing with the Curse of Strahd, because I was frustrated with that module as a player, but what came out of it, the consequences of it are long lasting, and that is my favorite part. We have this command in chat.
Yes,
Bleh.
yes.
I do not always blah blah blah.
Bleh. Yes.
Dag, just so you're aware, Amy's character in that game, Strahd, ended up proposing to her, and then shoved Tatiana's soul into her later when she wasn't looking, and just kept her, and then
Nailed it.
adopted her. Yeah, right. But then he adopted her daughter, and Amy's been playing the daughter ever since. Who has
His
hacked
daughter-
Strahd?
in one
Everything.
shot.
Everyone loves her
Yes.
apparently, and I'm just like, this was a
Luella
one-off
von Zarovich.
character.
Yep.
Whoops.
But is
Warlock
but
of
is
Strahd.
but is the daughter the actual reincarnation of Tatiana?
No, the
Actually,
daughter.
God.
Yeah, because
So the daughter was pre-existing. She was a single mother.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Yeah.
So
No,
she,
that's-
so
that's
but
what
so
it was
so
about the
Strahd's just
backstory,
raised
and
the
it's like,
daughter
oh,
as his
this kid.
dark child.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
That's amazing.
pretty
And
good.
Her patron is Strahd because she's a warlock. So it's like she
Which
goes
is-
off and does something. We go to a bunch of one shots. So she goes off and does something, and like next game we do, she's like 3 levels later, and then it's like somewhere in this chronology, it's like she's like level 15, and then it's like, oh, you're grounded. All
You're
the way. By
grounded.
the way, you've lost 7 levels, and
Yes.
you've been stuck. Like,
It's basically
under house
like a
arrest for
rich
15
girl and
years.
daddy's credit card. Like he revokes her privileges, and it's so
And-
good. She's so awful.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Oh,
Also
it's
evil.
Krista.
In a very similar vein to that of the module not being great, but loving the characters and all the story that came out of it. One of the ones I ran for Candlekeep was Zikrin Zephyrian Tome. There was just some. It was like it was just seemed very disconnected. And I understand they were supposed to be like one shots, but there was simultaneously like so much to do, but also nothing. And every single encounter they came up against, they just did the wrong thing according to the module. And the characters in it were hysterical, like Robin and Taryn's like characters that came
Our
together.
chaos wife! Oh, that was
please.
the wedding. Yes.
Yeah, and Taryn married Robin to get her grandfather Kelly's money.
I was a grandfatherly bard who had realized that he was gay in his 70s and was
Yes.
basically Ian McKellen.
It was so
He was,
good.
he was so good.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, but yes, but like
speaking of-
amazing characters, but the module was a little rough.
Now, one more. I'm gonna jut in and say one more thing about Candlekeep, and that is there is actually a module in Candlekeep. You should watch our How to Runs or our Candlekeep series. Candlekeep episode 3, the one that's like the gothic horror one, doesn't work. There is no way for you to stop it or find out the truth about it, because to do so, you would have to instinctively unearth a grave, and there's no reason for you to unearth the grave. There's like a portal at the bottom of a grave, but the only way it's activated is if you is this big thing. Go watch episode 3 on YouTube. I rant about it afterwards. It's been like a year and a half, and it is rough. It's unusable in its current form. Unfortunately, I feel like something was lost in editing before they sent it to publishing. Krista.
I would like to say that does feel from the modules that I have read, and this like includes Strixhaven, is there often doesn't seem to be a reason things happen. Like there's no like it's they expect your character to do a thing because they've written it so a character would do the thing, but the number of times I look at it and go, if I was given this information, there's no way in hell your characters would follow this path because there's no reason for them to. Like the Strixhaven's particularly bad for that, and I've had to like make up reasons for you guys to go do things like on the fly. So like I feel like that's just kind of a when as a preparatory thing, prepare, especially if you know your players, prepare for the shit they're gonna bug you about and be like, why do I have to do that? Why should I do that? Take that into account.
That's fair. Dag, back to you.
All right. So on that same note, a lot of modules will also give you a massive like background to things that the players will never, ever find out. Yes, you
Yep.
do have to read it. You know, I know you look at it and you're like, but my players never find out. Yeah, but just shut up. Just read it. That's it. Just but we could just shut up, read it. This is it. That's all. Because it's literally just your motivation for everything, like your characters and things like that. It just makes your role play tighter. And when you interact with these individuals, if you know what they're about, that's all.
That's totally fair. Amy.
Oh, just the snarky kind of question of, is this going to be on the test? Like,
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be on
Yeah.
the test. Unless it's Strixhaven, in which case the tests don't really make any sense. Neither do the sports in Strixhaven. Sorry to rag on Wizards of the Coast modules since we run so many of them, but they can be...
If we have experience with them, it's what we know.
Yeah. Well,
You know
and this
what
is what I mean. I think this is like the struggle of a lot of modules is like they can't account for everything because then they would be 1,000 pages and they would be Mass Effect. And even that, like there would be certain ones you couldn't pick, right?
But the really interesting thing there is that no matter how bad a module can be, a good GM and a great group of friends will always have a good time.
This is true. Chris.
I was just going to say, is it Storm King Thunder that is probably one of the harder ones to run, but has some of the best information? Like, if you can make it work, it is a fantastic module. It's got lots and lots of really cool stuff in there. If you can make it work. Like,
yeah, because they just give you a bunch of stuff that doesn't ever come out. Like, there's no reason for people to know this stuff.
Yeah, it's a better guide to the Sword Coast than the Adventurer's Guide to the Sword Coast. It gives you tons and tons of things to do all across the north. That's really cool.
But not necessarily something a first-time GM would want to run.
That was Christine actually tried running a game for us a few years ago, and that was what she tried running. And she's like, I can't. It's just there's nothing to do. Like there's no way to tie this in that I can figure out so easily, and it really killed a lot of her momentum. What we should have done is grabbed an Aarakocra and jump out a window.
Clearly.
Two of Annihilation in 5th edition has like a really cool storyline to it, really cool progression. It has like a really interesting like hex crawl that you don't really do in 5th edition anymore. But then it ends in the Tomb of Annihilation, which can be like, if you've really enjoyed the jungle exploration section, can be absolutely miserable.
That's fair. There's also a really good hex crawl in Dragonlance, just so you know, if you ever try that out. That's so folks, that is going to be it from us. Let's do a circle, say who we are, where you can find us, and any last words. Let's start with Amy.
Oh, that's me. Hi, I have been Amy, and for the time foreseeable future will continue to be Amy, but I am consistently Paradoxical Ghoul in the chat, on Discord, etc. And apparently I don't like running modules, but maybe I should give them another try, or maybe some more one-shots. I don't know. I could be persuaded, or maybe I just get ordered to and someone shoves a book in my hand and it happons. So this is great.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I am found on Twitter at something that's hidden places. I'm findable at Twitch at BoulderNA. I stream Magic. I stream indie games. I usually do blind plays. It's been a minute, but I'm looking to get back into it. Trans rights. Let's keep going.
Let's do it. It's wonderful to have you here. Over to Dag.
G'day guys, my name is Michael, I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer. I do online TTRPGs all over the internet on my channel, twitch.tv/DeadAussieGamer. Also, I'm a cast member over at Careful Cantrip, whose season 2 starts on Tuesday for you guys in the US, and Quincy's Tavern, where I will be for the Convergence event in Utah if you happen to be in Utah in the first weekend of May. If you want to come see me in person, play some games, hang out, give me a high five, you can totally do that now. Dag
nice. Back in meat space. Up to Robin.
Awesome. I'm Robin. I just want to say thank you to Dodgers Laker fan for tipping
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I've been Robin. I use she, her pronouns, and you can find me as Second Gen Gamer in the chat, sometimes on my own Twitch channel. But I'm running one game for our Patreon, and then in so many games here on Dork Tales.
It is really true. Krista.
Hello, I'm Krista. I use she, they, or her, them pronouns. You can find me on a lot of places on the internet as Chahista FX. And you can find me here, alternating Mondays, where I run our Strixhaven module for our Patreon, as well as we are airing the episodes to the public the opposing Mondays usually, but sometimes other days depending on special events. I'm not in any ongoing games at the moment, but you'll see me in probably some upcoming stuff. So
I'm gonna say that's a controversial statement, controversial opinion, right there.
Controversial opinion.
Controversial opinion. You'll be in something pretty soon. I have a feeling. I don't know why. We'll have to talk about that. Same time on Tuesday, I think. All right. So, and folks, I have been Kelly. I might be Kelly in the future if I succeed my charisma save. So thank you so much for being here. It is always a pleasure to talk to all of you. Dag, thank you for making the time. I know it's freaking early down there, and you were very hungry, and you made some sacrifices to be here. Was that?
No, thank you. No, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I've still got to say this is one of my favorite places to come and hang out and do some cool stuff. You guys are really, really insightful, especially with a lot of these topics that you guys have covered not only today but throughout the whole convention. And guys, if you are watching, I highly recommend. If you missed any of the panels that were there, they are available for you guys to check out on the VODs for a while. And there are just some really, really great tips and tricks for not only your GMing but also your writing, your role playing, and it was a really good experience and a wonderful weekend. You guys knocked it out of the park.
Controversial opinion. Controversial opinion.
Controversial opinion. Yeah.
Fight me.
But no, Dag, you're wonderful. Everybody go follow Dag. Like on YouTube, not on real life. Convergence.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you can follow me if you'd like to. I mean, just make sure you give me a hot chocolate or something. I mean, like.
Are you not a coffee guy?
No, I'm not. I've got a huge I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. For me, all of my vices went straight to sugar. So yeah,
fair.
if you come at me with an eclair, just
like with an eclair.
Yeah,
he's got a bear claw.
I know. I saw your dice. I was like,
dice. Sugar dice.
Speaking of which, if you want edible dice, go to bookwormgames.com. They're a Vancouver area supplier and our sponsor for this month. If you use code DorkTales, you'll save 10%, and shipping is free over $100, which is like 70 US or like 60 Australian or something like that. Like it's really not very expensive to get free dice. But Dag, is wonderful to have you here. Everybody, you know that you're some of my favorite people on the planet. And Dag, I'm going to drag you back here for Extra Life when we raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. You're going to play some games with us, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that through the Breach game that I promised you guys.
Oh shit! Yes, I want that so much.
Yeah.
Oh, because yes, I want more because I played once and it was really fun. And with that, we love you big much. We'll be back in about 15 minutes for the Dork Tales AMA. So join us and ask us anything. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.